Read it out loud, Dad. It's nothing, I said, too fast. Ellie stood in the doorway with my hoodie swallowing her shoulders, hair up in a fist of a bun, phone charger looped around her wrist. The living room smelled like lilies that wouldn't die and yesterday's coffee in a paper Dunkin' cup. On the rug, condolence cards sat like little tombstones, all the same font. What's nothing in Mom's handwriting? She asked, chin tipping at the thick cream envelope on my knee. The flap was sealed with a smear of old wax, Ethan on the front, the tilt of the letters unmistakable. A recipe, I said. For that lemon cake everyone hates. She made it for your birthday every year, Ellie said, and tried a smile that couldn't hold. I didn't hate it. I slid the envelope under the stack of Mass General discharge summaries and hospice receipts. Go plug in. I'll be there in a minute, she lingered. Can we get rid of the flowers? The lilies are loud. After dinner, I said. Promise. She patted down the hall, socks whispering over hardwood, the way babies used to whisper across these floors. When her door clicked, I pulled the envelope back, cleared the stack of paper from its shoulders, and broke the seal. If you're reading this, I'm gone. And the last thing I deserve is your kindness. I am asking for it anyway. My fingers tightened around the page. Outside, Boston did its February thing, light failing by 4, wind combing the bare branches on our South End street. A neighbor's snow shovel dragged, a sound like a tired violin. Ethan, I married you because I loved you. That is true. I kept something untrue because I was a coward. Eleanor is not your biological daughter. I read the sentence 3 times and none of the words changed. For a moment, my brain tried to fix it with logistics, typos, swapped pronouns, a trick of light in the room. It happened in grad school. I was 26 and thought being seen was the same as being loved. I told myself it didn't matter because you and I were already us. I told myself I would do the brave thing tomorrow. Tomorrow lasted 16 years. The page rustled. Somewhere in this house, a radiator hissed like it had an opinion. On the mantel, Claire's Senior Lecturer of the Year plaque from BU caught a ribbon of winter light. I could hear the hallway. Clock. Claire bought it at an antique store in Mao, Concord. Count down a life that didn't include the sentence I was reading. I flipped to the second page with hands that didn't feel like mine. You need to know the name. It is not fair to throw a stone into your lake and walk away. His name is Daniel Merrick. He was my thesis advisor. He still teaches. He knows nothing. He should. I thought about telling you 1,000 times. I didn't. I chose the story where I was forgiven without confessing. That is my ugliest truth. I stood because sitting felt like an admission. My knees knocked the coffee table. Lilies trembled in their glass like offended spectators. I walked to the window and watched a couple herd a golden retriever over slush. The dog wagged like there was only one story in the world and it was good. Dad? Ellie's voice floated down the hall. Do you want me to order Thai, or should I try to cook and ruin everything? Thai, I said, and didn't recognize my tone. I forced a lighter one. Pad CU for you, extra broccoli. Sold, she said. A beat. Don't read all the sad cards. They sound like homework. I folded the letter along its crease, then unfolded it. My thumbs found the place where Claire had pressed hard on the paper when she wrote coward. The dent in the page felt like a fingerprint. Back on the couch, I read to the end. If you choose anger, you will be right. If you choose to walk away from me in death, you will be right. But if you can, please choose Eleanor. She is ours in every way that mattered in the mornings and in the middle of the night. I know this is theft. I also know you gave her a world I could not have given alone. I have left a sealed envelope addressed to him with our lawyer, Ms. Patel. You will get a call about the will and the college fund. You have always been better with numbers. I was better with words. I used them badly. I am sorry in a way that is not performative, and completely too late. See, I was aware of my heartbeat like a neighbor playing music too loud. 16 years of soccer practices at Carter Field, scraped knees in this kitchen with cartoon bandages, orthodontist appointments, algebra tantrums at the dining table with my pencil, her first tea pass, her first iced coffee because in Boston you drink it in January or you're not from here. 16 years of Dad floating down the hall at 2 a.m. when thunder pressed its hands on the windows. Not mine. Mine, anyway. My phone lit up. Patel and Green, 4:30 p.m. tomorrow. Claire was always on time, even for things that broke us. Ellie came back in, a wool cap on now for no reason other than she'd stolen Claire's habit of wearing hats indoors. Mom's sister texted to ask if we want her old casserole dish, she said, eyes scanning my face like a nurse taking vitals. You look sick. I'm okay, I lied, small. Work tomorrow, Ms. Patel at 4:30? Lawyer Patel? Her mouth twisted. Do we have to sit in a room with those folders again? The estate thing makes me feel 35. I'll go, I said. You don't have to, school. She nodded. Good, I have a chem quiz. I like things that have right answers. I looked at her then. Really looked. The way you do when you're checking to see if a thing is still a thing. Her nose, Claire's, her eyes, not mine. Her grin when it came. Mine, stubborn and sideways. She'd been mine since she was the size of a cantaloupe on an ultrasound screen, and a nurse said, "That's a foot." And I cried at a foot. "Can I ask something stupid?" Ellie said, tugging the cap down. "There are no stupid questions," I said. Another lie. "There were, but not from her." "Do we have to keep Mom's office the same forever?" she asked, words tripping like they were late. "It smells like the candle that made me sneeze." "No," I said, voice more certain. "We don't have to do anything forever. We can open a window." She exhaled, something unclenching in her shoulders. "Okay, good." The letter sat on the coffee table like a live wire. I slid it into the field guide to New England birds Claire bought me the year I admitted I couldn't tell a sparrow from a stubborn leaf. I slipped the book onto the shelf behind the row of cookbooks. Next to the lemon cake recipe, she hand-wrote on an index card the year Ellie had the flu, and the cake fixed nothing but helped anyway. When Ellie went to order dinner, I turned the envelope addressed to Daniel Merrick in my hands. Claire had left it in the same lockbox as her will. I imagined a man with a city-smooth voice in a Cambridge office whose windows looked over the Charles, who once said things like brilliant mind and stay after class, who had no idea his past was about to knock. I pictured walking into his department on Com Ave, slapping the letter on his desk, asking him if he liked rowing in the morning, or if he preferred to let other people make his ripples. I pictured bringing Ellie to him. Then I pictured not doing that at all. The doorbell rang, tie like mercy. Ellie beat me to it, sliding across wood in socked feet. "Cash tip or Venmo?" she called. "Cash," I said, because I needed to touch something ordinary. At the table, we ate from cartons, steam ghosting the cold window. Ellie talked about her chem teacher's cardigan, the way the sleeves always seemed to be arguing with his wrists. She didn't notice me watching her like a man learning his own house. "Dad," she said, mouthful of broccoli, "do you think we can skip the grief group this week? Everyone keeps saying journey like it's a bus route." "We can skip," I said. "We can do 2 Dunkins and a walk around the pond instead." "Even if it's freezing?" she asked, eyes hopeful. "Especially if it's freezing," I said. "We're from here." She smiled, the sideways one, and for a second, the room took a breath that didn't hurt. Later, when she was in her room and the apartment went to its night noises, I took the letter back out and read the last line again. "Choose Eleanor." I turned off the lamps one by one until only the kitchen light was left, the one that always hums. I put Claire's envelope to Merrick into a new folder with my name on it. Then I opened my laptop and searched Patel and Green Paternity, Massachusetts disestablish, and learned, in the glow of a screen that made everyone look tired, that this state loved the phrase best interests of the child more than it loved men who needed the rightness of proof. Fine, I thought. Fine. If I couldn't take back my name from a line on a lab report, I could take back other things. Numbers I'd carried alone, funds we'd set aside, promises someone else needed to help keep. I closed the laptop and wrote 3 lines on the back of Claire's letter. Because there wasn't a notebook for this. What I know. She is my daughter. What I feel. Broken. Clear. What I will do tomorrow. See Ms. Patel. Open windows. Keep the letter, not because it wins, but because it tells me what fight is mine. Ms. Patel's conference room smelled like old paper and lemon wipes. A glass bowl of those white and red peppermints sat in the middle of the table, the kind that crack like ice when you bite them. Snow clung to the shoulders of everyone in the lobby. Boston had decided to spit instead of snow, and the Prudential through the window looked like someone had rubbed it with a dirty sleeve. "You don't have to take your coat off," Ms. Patel said, a small woman with a bun that looked like it could file motions by itself. "We'll be efficient." "I'm fine," I lied, sliding Claire's envelope across as if it might jump. She left. This. She read it without making noise, eyes moving, lips still. When she finished, she set the letter down like it was a beaker full of something that could stain. "I'm sorry," she said, and sounded like it. "What do I do?" I asked, hearing the sand in my throat. "I've been a father for 16 years. I learned last night that biology disagrees." "Let's separate buckets," she said, tapping the table with a capped pen. "Legal fatherhood, money, contact with this Daniel Merrick, Ellie." "Start with Ellie," I said. It felt treacherous to say her name in a room with blinds. "At 16, Ms. Patel said. Her voice matters in Massachusetts for any paternity or custody change. There's also the best interests of the child standard our judges breathe. Translation: the court will not lightly rip up a child's legal family identity. It will not reward a stranger, biologically related or not, if it destabilizes her. "Am I a stranger now?" I asked, hating how it sounded. "You're the opposite," she said. "You are the man who drove her to Carter Field in the rain and argued with orthodontists. The court calls that psychological parent. We don't have a neat statute for it like some states, but our case law knows the concept. Right now, you are the legal father, period. That was true yesterday. It's true today." I let out a breath I hadn't known I'd held for 16 years. "Money," she continued, clicking open a thin folder. "Claire's estate. We'll settle debts and transfer assets per the will. Separate issue. You can bring a claim against the estate for misrepresentation, and marital waste. IVF is not our fact pattern, but deception that makes you shoulder expenses you wouldn't have otherwise can translate into equitable relief. College funds, medical costs tied to the lie, therapy bills, it's not all recoverable, but we can argue contribution. What about him? I said. Merrick. Ms. Patel looked at the letter, then at me. 2 ways. Formal. You file a complaint to establish paternity against Merrick under Chapter 209C. That opens genetic testing. If he's adjudicated the father, we can seek a contribution order for past and future support, college, medical. But we also open the door to him seeking parenting time. A judge might limit that, especially this late, but it's a door. And informal? I said. We send him a lawyer letter, she said, notifying him of the situation, demanding no direct contact, and inviting him to discuss financial contribution outside court to avoid harm to Ellie. Private agreement, perhaps a trust for college. If he refuses or plays games, we choose door 1 later. Can we just not tell him? I asked. We can, she said. There's no law that says you must inform him. Ethically, many people choose to. Legally, you're within rights to keep your daughter's life stable. If Merrick surfaces on his own, we respond. If he doesn't, he can remain a name in a file. I stared at the glass bowl of peppermints. Claire used to carry one in her bag for me after coffee. I don't want him near her. Then we start with the letter and firm boundaries, Ms. Patel said. No contact. All communications through counsel. We can get ahead of it, set the tone. What about telling Ellie? I asked, the question that had sat like a nail under my tongue since last night. Ms. Patel was quiet a moment. The blinds hummed in the heater's breath. You're her father, she said. You deserve to decide when and how. I recommend you involve a therapist who understands grief and identity. The clinic near the pond has a good adolescent counselor. We can wait until after midterms. We can script it, but I cannot in good conscience tell you to carry it forever. Secrets rot, I nodded. The room swam for a second, then righted. She slid a single page to me. We'll also handle the probate housekeeping tomorrow. Today I'll draft to Merrick. No contact, no approach to Ellie or her school. Invitation to discuss contribution in a way that does not grant him standing. If he so much as emails you, forward it. Do not walk into his office. Do not make a scene on ComAv. Let my letter be the only knock on his door. I pictured the BU hallway anyway. The waxed floor, the flyers for visiting lecturers, a door with a name that had folded part of my life in half. Okay, I said. At home, she added. Open windows. Throw out the lilies. Take Ellie for iced coffee. And write down anything you decide. When things get loud, you'll want your own handwriting. She capped the pen. A little ceremony. Questions. Does the court ever take away legal fatherhood? I asked. After this long? In edge cases, she said. Usually when the child is very young, or there's another legal parent stepping in with a clean history and the child's consent? Yes. In a 16-year-old's life? Not unless the 16-year-old shouts for it. I don't hear shouting. No, I said suddenly fierce. She's mine. Then let's go make sure the world remembers, Ms. Patel said. BU's humanities building smelled like books that had opinions. I wasn't supposed to be there. Ms. Patel's letter was already in Merrick's inbox, and she had promised certified mail would land on his desk tomorrow. But my legs took me to Commonwealth Avenue after I left Patel and Green, past students in puffer jackets and winter beanies, past a bus that breathed hot air like a dragon. His office door was open. A grad student was perched on a chair outside, clutching a tote bag like a shield. Inside, a man with white hair and a smooth jawline spoke to a woman with a stack of pages on her lap. He looked ordinary, not the villain my brain had painted in the dark. Not a god either, just a person who had pressed a domino 20 years ago and walked away. Before watching the rest fall, I stood down the hall where the corkboard with public lectures and apartment. Sublets made a collage of other people's lives. My palms went damp. I pictured stepping in, asking him if the name Eleanor meant anything. Can I help you? The grad student asked, cautious, because I looked like every dad who had ever gotten lost on a campus tour. No, I said, and felt the truth of it. You can't. I walked back out to Com Ave where the wind bullied the flags on the streetlights, and the Charles looked like a black ribbon under a bruised sky. On my phone, an email pinged. From M. Patel PG Law. Subject, letter sent. She'd CC'd me. The subject line had the calm of a scalpel. Dear Professor Merrick, we represent Mr. Ethan Hale. This letter is to advise you. And then 40 lines of firmness. The existence of the letter Claire left. The fact of my legal fatherhood. The demand for no direct contact with Ellie. The request to discuss contribution in a way that would not create standing. A sentence that said politely, do not appear at our threshold. An ending that said, in legal, we see you, fine. I thought again, and waited for the light to change. At home, the apartment was too warm. The way radiators get when they understand grief but not thermostats. Ellie was at the table with a highlighter halo around her chemistry notes. The lilies were gone. The trash bin was a white mouth full of their ruined faces. I couldn't stand them, she said, looking apologetic and relieved. I opened a window. It doesn't smell like a funeral parlor anymore. just like our house. Plus Duncan. She lifted an iced coffee, straw already turning the color of old notebooks. Good, I said. Do you want to walk the pond after dinner? Only if you promise to complain about the geese like Mom used to, she said. I can do a solid impression, I said, and she smiled that sideways smile that was half me, half the city we live in. We ate pizza. We wore hats and walked Jamaica Pond while the cold gnawed our cheeks and the path sparkled with salt. We complained about the geese, loudly, in tribute. She linked her arm through mine once, quick, automatic, and then let go like she was frightened of needing it. I didn't go to grief group today, she said. I went to the library. The librarians are better at grief than the grief people. What did they do? I asked. Stamped things, she said, and whispered, and told me I had no fines. It makes you feel like you're not in trouble with the universe. I wanted to tell her everything and nothing. I wanted to offer her a life with no more surprises and the truth, which I hadn't learned to hold yet. Dad, she said, if I don't go to nationals with the debate team because I can't stand hotels that smell like carpet, are you going to be mad? Hotels that smell like carpet are not mandatory, I said. We can drive to the coast and eat something terrible at a shack instead. You're the best, she said, too quickly, like it wasn't a competition, and leaned her head lightly on my shoulder for 3 steps. Don't become weird, she added after, brave and small. I'll save weird for the geese, I said. They can handle it. Back home, her door clicked, then music hummed. Some girl singing about a kind of bravery that sounds like sleep. In the kitchen, I pulled the letter back out. I printed the email Ms. Patel sent to Merrick and slid it into the new folder with Hale, private on the tab. I wrote on a yellow sticky, do not confront at work. Therapist for Ellie. After midterms, the next morning I set an appointment with a therapist. In Jamaica Plain, who had reviews that said she didn't make everything into a metaphor, I emailed Ms. Patel to ask if we could structure a contribution, as a college trust Ellie wouldn't have to know the source of. She responded in 6 minutes, yes. We'll propose a trust, with you as trustee. He never touches it. 6 minutes later. Also, if he refuses, we proceed under 209C after midterms. Your call, at 11:10 a.m., a new email arrived. From dmericaboo, edu, subject representation. One line, all communication should be to my counsel, Ms. Vaughn, CC'd. I will not contact Mr. Hale or his daughter. Ms. Vaughn replied 30 seconds later. Her signature block all serif and steel, acknowledging receipt, asking for time to review, requesting copies of Claire's letter under a protective agreement. I printed that too. My printer hummed a satisfied little song. At 3 p.m., I met Ellie outside school. She came out with her backpack hanging by one strap like bad news, her hair static charged from taking off a hat too quickly. We read The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, she said, making a face. It's just a man listing ways to be cowardly. Sometimes cowardly men write good lines, I said. Sometimes brave men make grilled cheese without burning it, she said, nudging me. Science. We walked home. The sky did that late winter blue that looks like hope and glare at the same time. On the corner, a man shoveled a path to nowhere just to have something to do. Hey, she said, at our door, half turned away like she might run if I said the wrong thing. Thank you for not making me do anything forever today. You're welcome, I said. And for the geese slander, she added. Mom would have approved. She's probably on a cloud writing a letter to the editor, I said, and we both smiled at that. The kind frown smiles you get when grief and memory make a truce. That night, after she slept, I sat at the table with the letter open and a notebook that wasn't for bills. I wrote what I did, chose Ellie, called a lawyer so my hands didn't shake in the wrong place, did not walk into his office, hired help for telling the truth. What I feel. Hurt that knows my name. Calm, that's not a lie. What I will do tomorrow. Buy oranges. Call the therapist back. Ask Ellie if she wants to keep the hat on the coat rack or throw it at the geese. The pond ice will go soft by March, I thought. The lilies are already in the bin. The letter lives in a folder with a name I picked. The law knows me as father, and for once, the law is right. Somewhere across the river, a professor read his mail and called a lawyer. Across the hall, my daughter slept with a light on. In between, there was a kitchen that smelled like toast, a window cracked open, and a city that would never run out of cold coffee to drink when your heart needed something to do. A week later, after midterms, we were in the therapist's office in Jamaica Plain. The room smelled like tea and something woody. By the window stood a ficus that had clearly survived more than one winter of other people's storms. On the table, a box of tissues and a bowl of those peppermint candies that crack like ice. How would you like to start? Asked Dr. Harper, short silver hair, a soft voice from someone who has a lot of room inside. I looked at Ellie. She twirled the rubber band from her phone case around a finger and stared at the toes of her sneakers. Dad, she said quietly, you wanted to tell me something. Say it, I nodded. My throat felt like someone had poured sand from the riverbank into it. Ellie, I began, putting a palm on my knee to keep it from shaking. Before Mom died, she left me a letter. In it, there are things that are very hard to say, but you have a right to hear them not from strangers. From me. Ellie lifted her eyes. In her pupils, my own winters. Say it, she repeated. I'm your father, I said, every word laid like a brick. That truth doesn't change. But biologically, no. Your mom, she wrote that your biological father was her thesis advisor, a long time ago, before us. She hid it. 16 years. The silence wasn't empty, it rang. Outside, a dog walked over the thin ice on Jamaica Pond like it didn't quite trust its own paws. The radiator crackled like a campfire that was cold. Ellie nodded too fast. Nodded again. Then shrugged like brushing off an invisible hand. His name? She asked. I have it, I said honestly. I'm not saying it because I don't think it helps. And because you're afraid I'll run to him? She snorted, a sound that was 16 and 40 at once. Dad, I'm not stupid. And I'm not merchandise. Dr. Harper leaned forward a little. Ellie, what do you feel right now? The first layer, without the right words. Anger, Ellie said. The kind that makes my chest feel electric. And, she bit her lip, relief that he told me. He didn't disappear. He didn't pretend he had a meeting, I exhaled. My shoulders dropped on their own. I'm not disappearing, I said. I've already asked a lawyer, no contact from him. No chance encounters. If we ever decide we want more conversation, that will be a decision in your therapy, at your pace. Not anyone else's whim. And the law? She asked. Whose side is it on? Ours, I said. Massachusetts loves the phrase, best interests of the child. Courts love it more than they love lab results. Legally, I'm your father. That's not about tests. It's about buses to practice, the dentist, and how you like iced coffee in January. Good, she said, her voice older. Then I have 3 rules. First, no news about me without me. Second, no letters from him I have to read and understand. If he wants to understand, he can pay for my college silently. Third, if anyone else knows about this, you tell me first. I don't want to learn from whispers. Yes, I said. Yes. And this. If you ever want to hear his name, you'll hear it from me. But only when you say you're ready. Dr. Harper nodded. Those are good rules. I'll add homework. Ellie, 1 small act for yourself every day. A walk, a hot shower, music without words, and 1 line in a notebook. What I did to be on my own side today. Ethan, same for you. What I did to be a father today. Not on paper, in action. Ellie winked. Then today, I'm ordering iced coffee and not feeling guilty about it. And we'll go curse at the geese by the pond, I said. The geese deserve it, she agreed. That evening, Ms. Patel forwarded a letter from Merrick's attorney. Ms. Vaughn. A sterile, stainless steel note. We acknowledge receipt. Our client will not contact. Let's discuss contribution to an educational trust. No apologies, no let me explain. Perfect, Ms. Patel said on the phone. Numbers and terms only. The trust stays under your control. No meetings, no sentimental attachments. And Ethan, please save everything. If anyone calls you directly, screenshot, send to me. He won't call, I said, looking out at Commonwealth where February was pretending it wasn't cold. He's too used to having other people call for him. 2 nights later, Ellie came down to the kitchen in my Red Sox hoodie, hair wet, phone without earbuds, a rare sight. I Googled, she said, not looking at me. Found his department page. His photo looks like he never ages. Next Wednesday's lecture, The Ethics of Trust in 20th Century Literature. Dad, it's funny in a bad way. My heart did the thing. I set the mug down very carefully. Are you going to go? I asked, not with a cop's voice. Mine. She shrugged. I almost bought a ticket. Then I thought, I don't owe my eyes to someone I didn't choose. And I closed the tab. Beat. But that's my decision. Not your forbidden. It's yours, I said. And if you ever decide you want to see that, I swallowed the word. Man, we'll do it in therapy, and we leave any second you want. Okay, she nodded. 1 more rule? If I slip and write to him, I text you first. Not for permission, for safety. Deal, I said, and only then realized I was breathing again. Negotiations over the trust went the way Boston winters go. Slow, crunchy, with short letters where every comma mattered. Ms. Vaughn tried to insert a clause about a letter from the donor to the child. Ms. Patel struck it. They proposed a co-trustee. We said no. Eventually the formula set. Educational trust for Ellie, Ms. Patel read over speaker. Funded in fixed installments each semester. You are the sole trustee. Source of funds remains confidential to Ellie until 18, unless you decide otherwise. No direct contact. Any attempt is a breach. He signs, you sign. That's it. Sign it, I said. And let's buy oranges. Ellie likes peeling the skin and ribbons. That's the best sentence I've heard today, Ms. Patel said. We went to Trader Joe's. Oranges, naan, pancake syrup. Ellie stood in line, flipping through a small notebook. On the first page, big letters. My side. Below. Bullet points. Coffee in the cold. Video of rescue dogs. Don't open the tab with his name. Call Grandma and listen to her roast the geese. You're writing? I asked. I am, she said. Dr. Harper said when your brain tries to rewrite your life, you need to write by hand. Then your hand convinces your brain. She cut her eyes at me. You too. I'm writing, I admitted. Notebook called What I Did to Be a Father Today. Today it'll say, bought oranges and didn't say the name of someone who hasn't earned it. And, Ellie added, hugged his daughter in the store, even if it's awkward. By the time we got home, the oranges were sweating in their paper bag like they'd just run laps around the block. Ellie put them in a blue bowl, then hesitated, arms half raised. Awkward hug quota, she said, stepping in. We did it. 2 people relearning choreography that had new counts. She smelled like cold and shampoo. Ms. Patel called the next morning, voice crisp with victory. Executed, she said. Trust is live. First semester installment wired to the account ending. 1482, your sole trustee. Protective order language is in the agreement. Any attempt at direct contact voids his contribution obligations, and we file under 209C with this document as Exhibit A. Good, I said, looking at the oranges on the counter. He stays a routing number, not a narrative. Frame that, she said, amused. Also, one more housekeeping thing. Ellie's school should have a note in her file. No release of records to anyone but you. No third-party pickups. I'll email you a template. I thanked her, hung up, and forwarded the template to the guidance counselor, Ms. Decker, the one with the pastel cardigans that look like exclamation points whispered. 10 minutes later, filed and flagged. Ellie's safe here. The first crack came 2 days later. Ellie slid her phone across the table during breakfast, face pale in the kind of way that makes a parent's cells check their exits. A DM. From Dept Assistant Bu. Hi, Eleanor. I work in the Humanities Department. We're conducting an anonymous survey on family narratives and literature. If you're connected to the department, we'd value your perspective. No need to respond here. Here's my email. Anonymous, Ellie said flatly, with a first and last name in the signature. I felt that old surge in my chest, the one that makes you want to kick in a door you don't own. You didn't reply? She gave me a look. Rule 2, I forwarded to you. To Miss Patel, to Dr. Harper, to the trash. Good, I said, and texted the screenshot to Ms. Patel with 2 words. Your move. Her reply came in under a minute. On it. 15 minutes later, she looped me on an email to Ms. Vaughn. Subject, breach risk. Ms. Vaughn. We have just received an unsolicited communication from a BU staffer tied to your client's department. This is precisely the behavior our agreement sought to avoid. We expect a corrective response and written assurance that Mr. Merrick will enforce a strict no-contact policy, including through intermediaries, and will issue a departmental directive accordingly. A. Patel, 2 hours after that, a new reply. Vaughn, clipped as a paper cut. Apologies. The staffer acted on her own initiative after seeing a public obituary. Mr. Merrick has instructed the department that no contact of any kind is to occur. You will receive a formal letter today. I stared at the words public obituary until they fuzzed. Grief feels different when it cross-references you. Ellie peeled an orange and handed me a perfect ribbon of skin. I hate that this part of the internet knows my name, she said. But I like that Ms. Paddock swings a bat. Patel, I corrected gently. And yes, she does. We told Dr. Harper about the DMing session. Ellie recounted it without drama, which made the room heavier somehow. That was a test, Dr. Harper said, jotting a note. Not of you, of your boundaries. You passed. There will be more tests. Some external, some in your own head. When that happens, I want you to ask 2 questions. Is this safe? And is this mine? If any answer is no, we default to the plan. The plan is oranges and lawyers, Ellie said, small smile tucked in. Plus geese, I added. Plus geese, Dr. Harper confirmed solemnly. A week later, a flyer on the community board at the coffee shop in Jamaica Plain caught Ellie's eye. Teen Writers Workshop. Telling true stories without telling on yourself. Wednesday evening. She snapped a photo, sent it to me with a single word. Maybe? I said yes, so fast my thumbs dropped. On the first night, I waited in the car outside while halos of kids in hoodies sluiced into a room that smelled, from here, like pencil shavings and nerves. Ellie texted me a photo of a handout. You own your perspective. You get to decide the perimeter. I saved it like a talisman. We didn't plan to be near BU, and yet one Saturday we ended up on Commonwealth Avenue anyway, because there was a book sale, and Ellie's new workshop brain had her craving spines. The Humanities building loomed like a word you know in a language you don't want to speak. We crossed to the other side of the street without talking about why. A sandwich board outside announced a lecture series. There it was. The Ethics of Trust in 20th Century Literature. Professor Daniel Merrick. Wednesday, 7 p.m. Someone had tipped the sign slightly askew. As if even the easel disagreed, Ellie stopped. The air turned filigree thin. I could go in there and cough very loudly every 5 minutes, she said, deadpan. Powerful activism, I replied. She looked at the door, then at me. I don't need to be seen by him to be real, she said. Let's go buy used paperbacks and judge the covers. We did. She chose a battered Didion and a zine stapled crooked. I picked up a field guide to shorebirds that promised to make me better at not confusing gulls. You know what Mom would say? Ellie asked on the way out. That we told the truth by walking away. I'll take her ghost as co-counsel, I said. The formal letter from Merrick's counsel arrived, printed on paper heavy enough to make a point. No contact, no appearance at the child's school or activities. No indirect outreach via colleagues, students, agents, or family. It ended with something that almost sounded like a human wrote it. Our client acknowledges the importance of the child's stability and will not interfere. Ms. Patel forwarded it with a note. Pin this to your mental bulletin board. We enforce it if he blinks. That night, Ellie and I marked a victory no one would understand from the outside. We threw away the last funeral program. The recycle bin gulped it like it had been waiting. Do you ever feel like you're going to wake up and it'll be last year? Ellie asked, standing with one foot on the pedal like she was bracing a boat. I feel like I'm going to wake up and it'll be next year, I said. And we'll have strong legs from all this walking. She considered. Deal. The call from Ms. Decker came on a Thursday, the kind of gray day Boston knits to keep itself entertained. Ethan, quick heads up, she said. There's a whisper at school. Someone's cousin is a BU grad student and teenagers are excellent telephones. Nothing concrete, just the phrase, not his real dad, bubbling. We've told faculty to shut it down. Do you want me to pull Ellie for an hour so she doesn't hear it at lunch? A heaviness moved through me like slow weather. Thank you, I said. Please ask her if she wants the break. Let it be her choice. 10 minutes later, Ellie texted. Taking Ms. D's office. Jelly sandwich and floor lamp. Librarian brought me a sticker that says, I contain multitudes. Me. Want company? Ellie. No. But send a goose emoji. I sent 3. She replied with a photo of her notebook. Today's entry. What I did to be on my own side. Asked for a different room. Didn't finish the rumor for them. Ate jelly in peace. When she got home, she shrugged off her backpack like it had opinions. Ms. Decker's floor lamp is very comforting, she said. Like a giant flashlight for grown-ups. Good, I said. We'll buy one. Also, she added, rolling an orange across the table. If anyone at school asks, I'm going to say my family is my business, and then ask them their opinion on the Patriot League standings. Most people can't resist sports. You're terrifying, I said. Proud. Spring lumbered in, the heavy, hopeful way it does here, with crocuses elbowing through dirty snow and joggers pretending they've always liked wind. The Trust's second installment hit without fanfare. Dr. Harper graduated us to bi-weekly sessions. Ellie's writer's workshop read paragraphs out loud that made the room breathe like a choir. On a Wednesday in late March, Ellie came into the kitchen with a grin that didn't apologize for existing. I got into the state writing thing, she said, waving an email. They liked my piece about the geese more than the one about grief. Valid. We've always known the geese were your best material, I said. She poured iced coffee with the solemnity of a ritual. I'm going to read a paragraph at the library on Boylston. I'll puke or float. Both is very Boston, I said. I'll be the guy in the back taking blurry photos. She hesitated then, thumb on the rim of her glass. Can I ask something without it turning into paperwork? Yes, I said. Do you think someday, not today, not tomorrow, I'll want to know his face? Not because I need him. Just because there's a door and I know it exists. I thought about doors. The one to his office, the one to our kitchen, the ones we'd closed and opened on purpose. I think someday you'll want to stand near the door and decide for yourself whether to knock, I said. And I think when you do, we'll do it with a plan, with a bench nearby, with Miss Harper in our pockets. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to keep it closed forever. She nodded, relieved by permission she hadn't known she needed. Okay. We can also just keep cursing at geese, I offered. That might be the purest path, she said. That night, when the apartment exhaled into quiet, I opened my own notebook. What I did, filed the school flag, stood still when the DM tried to hook us, chose used books over a lecture, bought a floor lamp. What I feel, less made of glass, still angry, also proud. What I want, a spring with more oranges than lilies, a daughter who reads on Boylston without looking over her shoulder. What I'll do, keep the perimeter, keep the trust a trust. Keep being a father in all the ordinary ways that don't trend. On the counter, an orange sat like a small sun. Outside, the geese argued with their reflections. In between, our kitchen learned a new sound, the click of a lamp we bought because a guidance counselor's office felt safe. Late afternoon light on Commonwealth Avenue turned the brownstones honey. Ellie and I were leaving the used book sale with a bag of paperbacks, Didion riding on top, when she stopped. Across the street, under the Humanities banner, A man adjusted his scarf, nodding as a grad student spoke. White hair, ordinary coat, a face that would never know our kitchen. Merrick Ellie's breath hitched once. Then she slid her hand into her pocket and pinched the little ribbon of orange peel she'd been fidgeting with since breakfast. "Safe?" she whispered. I heard Dr. Harper's questions click into place. "Is this safe? Is this mine?" "It's not ours," I said. Ellie exhaled. "We don't owe our eyes," she murmured, almost amused at herself. Then, grinning sideways, "Power move, not starring in his day." A bus sighed. The walk signal flashed. We crossed on the opposite side, our reflections wobbling. In the glass of a cafe that sold iced coffee all year because Boston insists, Ellie tugged my sleeve once, not for fear, like a coach's signal. Keep moving. At the corner she looked back, only far enough to confirm gravity still worked. "He's small from here," she said, not cruel. Like a word you don't need in the sentence. "We told the truth by walking away," I said. She bumped my shoulder. "Let's go judge book covers." We did. Later, at home, the new floor lamp clicked on with its soft counselor's office glow. I opened my notebook. What I did passed him like weather. Chose our side of the street. What I feel. Steady, unsurprised. Proud. What I want. More crossings like that. Uneventful hours.